You are with the Three Business Goddesses, and it's Soul Dive time again. And we are here to dive into the gorgeous topic of slipping in and out of enlightenment. Have you found yourself in a moment of pure bliss and glory? All of a sudden, oh my gosh, it was just so annoying. I can't believe someone posted that on Facebook. Where's my coffee? I need it now. And I really want to dive into this conversation because there's such a misnomer that in order to be enlightened or spiritual or onto it, you need to be able to hold this pure space at all time, which we don't. So if you're doing this and we can't, please teach us how. But we're going to be talking today about slipping in and out of enlightenment. I am Lysa Black. I am a heart healer, bringing people home to the power of their truth.
I am Laura Waldman. Welcome. I'm so glad we're talking about this subject. I'm the Abundance Activator, and it's a great pleasure to be with you all.
Hi, I'm Karina Leday. I'm an intuitive channeling healer, and I'm super excited to be here. And it's always so much fun to hang out with you, Lysa and Laura. And we hope you're going to have a great time, and that it will inspire you and make you feel maybe more comfortable going through the stuff that you go through, because this is what we experience too.
So let's talk about the humanity of it, because I'd really love to hear from you, goddesses, about how it feels when you have that feeling of enlightenment. And I remember I had this beautiful experience. I'd really been resonating with the concept of the lotus for so long. And I remember I had a healing session with somebody who suggested that I had this lotus just arise in my tummy. And I kind of walked around like I had this goldfish bowl in my belly with this beautiful emerging lotus. And I'm like, can you see this? Can you see the lotus? Can you feel the lotus? I am the lotus. And I really felt this like, it's sensual. It's connected. And there's like this incredible effervescent sense of love that you kind of feel you can emanate for all people everywhere. So that, I guess that is a great flash into Lysa styles of enlightenment. I'd love to hear. What's yours, Lara?
Well, yeah, it makes me feel like I'm interconnected with absolutely everything. There's complete oneness, and everything's in flow, and I'm part of nature, and I'm part of the earth, and I am the earth, and I am the world, and super powerful. Like, I can do anything. I can manifest anything. And really feeling like a queen. Really in my power. Really, I'm tall enough as it is, but I get even taller. And totally blissed out. Like, everything makes sense. Get it? It's like it's oneness, and it just feels good. Everything is in flow, and and I feel a lot of love. I feel a lot of gratitude for life. I feel gratitude for absolutely everyone and everything. It feels pretty awesome. How about you, Karina? What's your version of enlightenment?
I love how you say that you feel taller, because that's how I feel too. It's like you grow somehow, right? And you hold yourself in a different way. I always feel really like I am love, right? And often I feel this way when I've done when I do my workshops, like my channeling workshops. And I've just been like raising my vibration, and I feel like this kind of love goddess, and I just feel everything is good, right? Everything is right in the world, and everything is so clear, and I'm really filled with these beautiful qualities, and at the same time I feel completely detached, as if it was all gone, it wouldn't matter. Like this really kind of powerful inner feeling of being connected to everything. And lots of love and lots of joy. And then it feels like being connected to something that's so big that it's never ending, right? Like being right in that flow. So yeah, I love those feelings. It's just it's kind of the high, right, of the spiritual work we do.
And it's so good to talk about the high in context, the low. And I love that we've called this slipping in and out of enlightenment, because I don't recall a moment where I first slipped in. But when you first slip in, you go, I'm here. I'm in the zone. I am a goddess incarnate. My will be obeyed by all of the universe. And you kind of like, I got this down. Check this out, goddess. goddess incarnate, I'm doing it. And then you click out and then you go, what happened? Am I waking up? Who did that to me? Who flicked me out? You know, you kind of, the contrast is so dramatic. It's like, I don't know how, you know, I kind of feel like I don't know how I slip out of it. I think, do you know what I mean? You just realize that you're out, and then you're almost resentful at the goddess that you thought you were, because now that you are apparently not her, it's like, am I regressing? And I become resentful of the whole process when I'm out. Do you know what I mean? I remember that a few years ago, and I would turn into a bit of a snarling beast. But then I realized that I'd hop back in. Oh, yeah. Can I pass me the camera? Let's take a picture of this, because I'm back in. And and so I'd love to hear, you know, about those experiences of, you know, maybe some of the pivotal first times that you cracked into this zone, and then that initial kind of disconnection, and how, and what did you make it mean? Because I thought I was fully out, never to get back in. And so then you're resentful that you got in, because then you got a contrasting point. You go, oh no, I wish I didn't know that was there, because now I'm back here. I don't like here.
Yeah, it's amazing. The first time I really remember feeling it was one of the very first times I experienced healing. And it was this feeling, I just was crying because I felt like I'd come home. I'd come home to something that I actually hadn't really experienced before in this life, I don't think. Maybe in moments in nature as a child, but it was like, oh, where has this been for so long? And it was like, oh, you know, water to a very, very sensitive person. But then, the falling out of it, and it I think one of my defaults, like, would be just to blame everything, you know, blame the outside world. It's that person's fault. I would feel fine if it wasn't for you, you know. You don't care, everything will be fine. And so the tendency to kind of maybe point the finger, or just feel, resentful and frustrated, and what I did for years was really just hide myself away from the world, because I'm like, it's the world that makes me feel bad.
Wow.
I'm fine. I'm whole and complete. If it wasn't for these people, the animals, everything will be fine. But so I really hid myself away to try and protect myself from these bad feelings. I don't want to feel bad. I don't want to feel angry. I don't want to have bad feelings towards people. So best to just not really interact with them, and then I won't have to feel bad. So I really hibernated for a very, very, very long time. And now it's coming out, and really just, it still feels like shit. It does. It just doesn't feel good. When you're so connected and in flow, and then those moments where you're not, it's just not fun, because it's like you've had a taste of the candy and you want to get back in. But it's this idea that somehow, that it's this state that you're supposed to somehow maintain, like some kind of flat line, that's somehow success. And if you fall out of it, you've failed, or you're doing life wrong.
That's great, Lara. It made me think of Cinderella, right? Like, oh, where's my dress? And a pumpkin, really? Because it can be harsh. I just remember the contrast, right? Because when you're feeling it, it's real, and then the next feeling is real also, and that it kind of you fall really, really low. I think for me, it was really when I started offering my channeling workshops, because during 2 days there's just really intense work, and just the energy, I guess the vibration is really, really high. And when I would come out of my workshops, I was fine when I was like somewhere out in the countryside, or like a nice, soothing place. But I remember the first times I did them in a big city, and I would just not pay that much attention. I would take like I remember taking the subway in Stockholm on like a Saturday evening, and all of a sudden I was like feeling really depressed, and I had to like move away from people, and I was just absorbing everything, because I was just wide open, I think, and I just took everything in. And I'm not like that normally, so for me that wasn't really something I had to like protect myself from, or I don't know if that's really the case, but you know, like I didn't have to pay attention so much to it, because I tend to really close my bubble very automatic way, and I did for years. So for me, it's been how I deal with that is I close off and I don't feel anything, and I'm fine, you know, just not feeling anything and not taking anything in. But it's so interesting how this works, isn't it? Because you have these amazing, what seem to be random experiences, and then you fall down again, and then you randomly come back into it again until you figure out, okay, so I feel really bad when I do these things or when this happens, because it's never like that, right? It's always like a little bit of something that brings you into that state. So I guess and then that's when we start going for like hunting it down, right? So what makes me feel like this, and how can I do more of that, and how can I stop doing the other things, until I guess now I don't experience that in such a like harsh way, but it can be so hard when you start, and then it's like, why am I doing this again?
And I was just thinking of that same thing, that it's kind of like these massive peaks followed by massive troughs that we feel are completely unrelated. We don't, you know, like healing sessions are times when we can often have these massive peaks, but we can't live in an eternal healing session. Or maybe that's the answer, and I've stumbled upon it right here now. Damn it, wait on, I need to go and have a healing session. You know, I think you really do. When it first starts to happen, you drop in and you drop out. You start going, I was not in control of that. And we deny our power. We deny the influences. We deny the factors that we know are at play, that we allowed to be at play. And I think the more we're dropping in and we're dropping out, we're really starting to get that intel of who am I and what environments are most conducive to stay in a high state. And what are the factors? Like, I love fashion. I love clothes, color, fabric. So I was just such a glossy mag girl about 8 years ago. I would love it. And then I'm like, I can skip lunch. Lunch. Who cares, you know? But if I was just a little bit thinner, that coat would look so good on me, like it looks good on her. And I really realized that glossy magazines, they peaked me up and they just pulled me down afterwards. Do you know what I mean? And so I'm like, Lysa, I love you, and I know you love clothes, and I know you love fashion, but I'm actually taking glossy mags away from you because that's not good for your soul. And so I went through this process of kind of eradicating all of these factors, like TV and news and radio news. And sometimes I'm like, I can handle the radio news. 5 minutes later, we live in such a terrible world. She died, you know, and I seriously have to... any kind of exposure to that sort of level of suffering, I've got to physically mourn that. Otherwise, I can't show up in my life. I've got to be clear and present. So I know if I invest a certain amount of time in being exposed to some of the things that are going on, I have to experience the plummet. I have to go down. I have to mourn it and release it until it's all been released and I can get back into that state. And so I think you realize the friends that you surround yourself with that support you to rise up into that queen goddess-like state, and you start recognizing the places that are supportive for you to be in that place. So I know all of us, we're surrounded by crystals and incense and dream catchers and fancy Kuan Yin. I mean, gosh, if you've got her on your side, you're just one step closer to enlightenment. So go and buy a Kuan Yin statue now. For only $79.99, you'll be able to feel the lush relays of enlightenment flowing through your body just by having her statue present.
And a fairy at the back.
Yeah, I got fairies, man. I got hummingbirds, flowers. Like when you sit and you got this sort of chunky goodness sitting right next to you, you go, this is my soul in a vase and flowers. This is how it is. So I think, then we've got oils. We've got oils and we've got, wait on. This is getting better. Sprays. Then we've got the power shell and the crystals close by. It's going everywhere. But I think it's just so fun to really take responsibility that when we're slipping into enlightenment and coming out, we think that there's factors that are outside of our control and our power. And I don't believe in that at all. And so the more we can get that information, we can harmonize and we can stay more in a state of, You know, we know what we've dropped back out, and it's not very long to drop back in because we know the things to do now to get us back into that state.
Yeah. It's interesting, Lysa, you talking about all these things that we do, and it's become so normal for my world now. I didn't even think about it. I'm like, oh yeah, I don't listen to the news. Rightly or wrongly, I don't. I very rarely do. I can't handle it. You know, like you said, it just completely throws me off. So there's a lot of actions taken throughout the day to create a really high, I call it high vibe space, really high vibe energy. And of course we still need to be in the world and know what's going on. But for me, now it's like, when I'm out of flow, it's like I'm so into feeling good and in flow now. It's like, boom, what action do I take to kind of get back in? So there's that piece. So, you know, I'm outside, I move my body every day. I'm doing yoga, meditating every day, or, you know, most days doing these things. Hanging out with soul sisters that lift me, doing things that lift me, and getting back into that state of flow. And the other piece is also kind of, I think the pain, for me, pain only comes from resistance. So this idea that, again, we're supposed to feel good all the time. We're supposed to feel happy. We're supposed to feel peaceful. We're supposed to feel love. Peace and love, man. Peace and love. Yeah, like, screw you.
Lara driving in London.
Yeah.
The first thing when you're in a bad mood for someone to tell you, just like, relax. But so there's a thing about honoring like where you're at, you know, that sometimes you're just feeling kind of bad and you're feeling out of flow. And we all know about being with the pain and being with the feeling. But it's also, for me, it's a dance between both. It's like, okay, what actions can I take to, you know, what spray can I spray and thing can I burn and cards can I pick and all these things kind of gently bring you back into alignment again. So it is a dance, because I do think that one of the things that causes pain is resisting what is. So like I said, if we're not feeling good, that's okay too, but it's sort of not getting stuck there and that kind of like under the cloud. Okay, what can we choose now to get back into flow and get back into alignment again? And for me, that's just what I want to choose for my life. That feels good. That's like an active choice, you know, is to feel, to be enlightened. It's my choice every day to be enlightened. I am enlightened.
Yeah, and then also
that probably helped you feel more enlightened. Just hearing my healing song, I was just.
Oh yeah, I was enlightened when you.
Sorry, darling.
Oh, that's okay. And then I guess also consciously choosing if you don't want to feel good at some point, like doing things that you know are probably not great for you, but you're like, well, I'm going to choose that. Like, I don't know. Sometimes for me, it's like watching crappy TV. I'm like, that's okay. I'm just going to take a break and watch crappy TV. But it's not like, I don't know what this is doing to me, and I don't have any power to shift my reality. Because that's the thing, right? With the stories we believe about ourselves. And for me, it's also like the balance between, because I didn't used to be so sensitive to stuff, like, and I don't watch the news either. It's just so scary, and I feel that I'm not sure that's how I can be the most helpful, because it just puts me in a state of anxiety, and that's not going to help anyone. And I don't think that's really information anyway. But like, how do I stay in the world with other people without being too disconnected in my own, like, we're all into healing bubble and everything is fine, and at the same time not getting sucked into that kind of negative, sticky energy? Which I think is an interesting kind of balancing act. And I think it's also like being with our families or with our friends who are not into the work that we do, and also to stay committed to our path so that we can enjoy both. Because I love just hanging out with people and not talking about anything deep, but it's like finding the right balance so that I can nurture myself and at the same time feel that I'm not hiding either. Because I think it's important to protect our energy, but not hiding from everything. So, and some of the things that I've been practicing and playing with a lot is like, so when I go to like London to hang out with Laura and do work, or I go to Stockholm, and then so I go get on public transport and I take the plane, and I'm at these big airports and I get to travel. And for me, that's like being in a different world, because that's not where I'm used to anymore, being out in the countryside. But how do I stay in my energy no matter what? And that's really interesting. And not like blame myself for not, if I slip out of it, but just keep coming back to that. And how can I bring, because to me, that's kind of like the ultimate thing, isn't it? How can I bring that energy into everywhere I go, no matter what the circumstances are? And I was on the train going back from Sweden last week, and it was so interesting because I was, so it's snowing when I left Stockholm. I got to Paris. And so, well, France is kind of like a messy country. And usually you take the train, there's like a strike or, you know, there's something going on. Like it's, yeah, anyway. And so I took 3 trains, and on every one of them, there was like either something that wasn't working right, or there were delays because actually like accidents, and then another accident, and they kept saying, oh, we're going to be delayed like an hour and a half. And I had to like catch my next train. And every time I would feel myself getting sucked into the, oh, going to miss my train, because people were, you know, upset and complaining and stuff. And I was like, okay, just come back, surrender, connect in with the energy. No matter what, I'm going to be fine. And I could see myself getting on that train, like calmly. And every time I would do that, like the moment I surrendered and was like, fine, this is good, everything is all right, they would go, actually, we only have 20 minutes. I was like, really?
I manifested that. You can thank me now. You can pay me for that. I just sped up your journey.
It was just so funny because it happened like 3 or 4 times. And it was the moment when I was like, I want to control this situation. Because sometimes we do that with our work too, right? We want to control it. And this is my universe. And I get to choose and decide everything. And then it's like, I surrender to the flow and I don't buy into anything. And it's just interesting how that works. I don't know how I do that like every day, like for you, Lara, you live in London, but it's a really, really interesting practice because I'm like, how can I stay loving and compassionate and kind and clear in my own energy, even when people around me are really upset or they don't smile or everyone's like, I can just feel that kind of buzzy, stressed out big city energy. How do we stay true to who we truly are in those circumstances?
I think that's a really good question. I was kind of writing down, I can feel us almost defending ourselves, you know what I mean? Like, you need to be informed, but I like totally will bawl my eyes out for 24 hours if I watch the news. So we kind of, there's this fear that by protecting ourselves and honoring the truth that for me, that's not reality anyway. It's a tilted perception of what's happening. That it's one perception, but it's not a perception I choose to feed. We can fear our own ignorance. And then, like you're saying, we can hop in this little healing bubble and we're like, oh, I am pure and divine and so are you. And we're in it. And then someone just like barges up against us and it's like, oh, I will choose to forgive you. Oh. And you kind of, it's that balance between, like you're saying, is this my universe? Am I in charge? Am I calling the shots? How many times have we done that and something manifests? And then there's other times where if we are trying to force an outcome that we really want, we really become these arrogant, well, I do. I won't talk on behalf.
That's true.
Yeah, you do that, Lysa. That we can be really arrogant and we can be like, you are only a reflection of me and I choose this, so you must too. Are you doing it yet? You know? And we're really wanting to be able to create that change, but not from a place of love. So I think there's a really beautiful balance here of we're all ignorant to a degree, but choosing the degree of ignorance that we feel aligned with, and then making sure that we are still present and aware to the reality of what's happening outside of ourselves. So there's a cross-section there. And then the other cross-section for me is the paradigm between hiding. And like you said, Lara, once you realize that you're this divine creature and you've got these muggles hanging around you that don't even know that they're divine, that then they can't kind of draw that kind of divine behavior from themselves from a place of disconnect to that identity. You kind of go, I'm going to cocoon myself over here where it's safe. And you muggles go and play over there because, you know, we're not going to get along. It's not going to be pretty. And so then being able to give ourselves permission to be who we are no matter who we're around, then drops us into a space where we let them claim their reflection in us, and where we can honor that we are that humanity, that ignorance, that blindness, that selfishness, and really take that shadow and just start chewing it, just and digesting that reality that we're in this dual experience of being humans while being divine beings. And I just think this, for me, is the essence of slipping in and out of enlightenment. It's the opposing parallel that these two polar opposites create, and then just learning how to harmonize them and learning how to integrate them until we can be one. Like, that's kind of being love, being one. That's our state of enlightenment. But, you know, you just don't feel like you're worthy. So I now live in the country like Karina. I love it. I love being very removed from humanity. I can go into town and then I can love them all for a few hours and I get the hell out of there. And so it's really, really nice to be able to choose for ourselves the level that we can kind of tolerate of exposure, and just having compassion for ourselves. Hey, that there's all of these, you know, paradoxes that we're having to sit in, but the more aware we can be of it, we can enjoy the duality of this experience, being divine beings incarnate in fleshy, you know, human bodies.
I'm so glad. Just before you said the word shadow, I was thinking about the shadow and the importance of really honoring and embracing our own shadow, because otherwise you have this weird thing that I see in spiritual communities where everyone's like, peace and love, and all this anger and hate really inside. It comes out really passive aggressive ways. I love you. And actually, it's actually very dark when we don't embrace our darkness, when we don't embrace that stuff. So it's really, really important. And it's also this hilarious, and it seems like a paradox, does it not? We're like talking about peace and love, and then there's like, it seems like the polar opposite, and we're talking about manifestation and creating our life, and like we have no control and total surrender. And there's a beautiful, beautiful dance in there between both states. And it's sort of the constant reminding, and I'm thinking, what is that? What is the difference? When is the difference? Where you can magically create your life, and we've all done it. We're like powerful manifestors. We decide something and make it happen. And then there's those times where we have to 100% let go and we have no control whatsoever. And it's this amazing thing. And I think in a way, thank God, because it keeps life really interesting and it keeps us on our toes. I think we'd probably get bored if we like figure it all out. So I love that. I love the contradiction. I love, you know, the light and the dark, and you know, the shadow and the oneness and all of it. So it's just a funny contradiction. And yeah, and I also think we're like playing with this possibility of creating a new way of being potentially on this planet, you know. And I think we're all here trying to figure out what else is possible for humanity. Yeah. And I like to think that maybe if enough of us are kind of working in this way, that we can actually create a different way of being together. That's my big kind of, I don't know, dream and vision. Who knows? I don't know. But you gotta try.
Yeah, great point. I think it's so interesting, isn't it? And then the seeing what our work really is too, because I find sometimes for me that means taking inspired action and doing something tangible to create change in the world when I don't agree with something. And sometimes it means doing healing work. So I guess we all have different tasks, and as long as we're not running away from something and we're really facing it, there are so many different ways to live, right? Because the world is not gonna be helped because we're like crushed because we're watching the news and we're like wallowing in all that emotion. We're just kind of contributing in a way to that, and that doesn't mean we're not sensitive. So like, I don't watch the news, but I do choose the sources where I read about what's going on, because I don't like being brainwashed, and I like to choose where I get my information from, and I like to take my time and to go deeper, because we can so easily fill ourselves with just images and words and stuff, and we don't always know where it's coming from and what's really at play as well. So I find that I can stay much more in my power when I get to choose where I get the information from and how I inform myself. And then there's the energy stuff that we can feel as well underneath happening. So yeah, it is really a new way of being, isn't it? So maybe that's also why we're struggling sometimes, right? Because we're in this new state and we see what's possible, and then we're still in the world that we have created right now. And I find that every time although it feels great to be in that really kind of expansive, blissed out state, I know that at some point I feel a bit disconnected from other people's suffering, because in that moment I just can't imagine it somehow. And every time I get to feel that again, although I don't really get those really, really low lows, but I kind of slip out of that really nice state, I have a lot more compassion for other people who are suffering, and I have a lot more compassion for my clients as well. So for me, it's kind of a way, I guess, of staying connected to my human self, which is nice too. And I do sense that there's an integration that needs to happen. But it's kind of like finding something that you've never really seen, right? It's like we're creating something that's never existed before. So it's like trying things out and then sharing, I guess, with other people, because we don't always see people around us who kind of model what it is that we aspire to embody, right? And then when we do, we go, oh, there's something about that person that I really like, and then we learn more, and then we explore as well. Which I think is so great about the online communities, because we get access to so many more people than like we do in small villages, right, Lysa? Where it's a little bit, limited.
Yeah. Oh, I love learning from you guys. Like, this is a part of the month that I really look forward to diving into these conversations with you guys, because hearing your experiences and your perspectives just help me to understand it more. Like, I feel like, I hope that people who are watching this can really take heart and take light in the slipping in and out process, and that they can really give themselves permission to allow it to be what it is for them and to use it in their favor, like we have, to understand ourselves more and to allow this integration and to deepen into compassion and to deepen into self-awareness. I think it's great to slip in and out of enlightenment, and I feel a bit cheeky talking about slipping in and out of something, but I really think we are creating, and we're co-creating, and the end outcome is worth the process. It's worth the refinement of not knowing and then kind of getting closer and closer until you can feel it. And like you're saying, we're attempting to experience something on this planet that it's not clearly modeled. You can't turn on your TV and sit back and, that's how you do it. There's so many makeup tutorials and here's how to make a table. No one's really showing us, here's how to harmoniously sit in enlightenment while holding all of humanity and compassion and being a part of the world, but not connected or influenced by it. No one's really showing up in a reality TV show talking about, I just hated my hair this morning. I just wanted to cut it all off. And then I took to my journal and I just started writing out my gratitude list. And, I think that would make a great reality TV show. And if anyone's watching, if you're a producer, I'd be a very good candidate for that show. But I am really, really grateful that you guys are so willing to open your hearts and share the reality of our experiences, because as professional healers, we're not only privy to experiencing this in our own world, but obviously the worlds of all of our clients as well, which I think gives us a very unique perspective, that we can see a lot of the inside workings of the human heart and the soul experience that we're all having here. So I hope you have enjoyed our soul dive conversation into slipping in and out of enlightenment. We are the three business goddesses, and we are so excited to be creating this every month. So if there is a glorious little nugget of a topic that you would love to hear the three business goddesses talking about in our next soul dive, please send us a private message or comment on our YouTube channels. We're so grateful. Shall we do a bit of an enlightened pose and show everyone how it's done before we finish up, just so they've got something to model? So here's mine. Your turn. Come on, I'm waiting here. There we go.
Karina.
Opera's involved.
There we go. We're operatic. So thank you everyone for joining us for this call. You hope you have a glorious, glorious time.